Hello Thunder Bay, NWO Therapy here again with another episode of Hope This Helps. Sorry for the delay since the last episode. I've been working to put an entry into the local terror on the Bay Film Festival. Today we get back to our topics, and we simply hope this helps. Thanks for listening. Over the last 30 years we have been asking ourselves as a society what video games are doing to our minds. Today, I want to explore the values and detriments of the gaming and what it does to the brain, especially the brains of children, but also what it does to us adults as we get older. There are many positives of gaming. Scans have shown that gaming increases activities in the premotor cortex and parietal lobe, as well as prefrontal cortex. It increases dopamine in the brain and increases gray matter. Gaming has even been shown to help soldiers returning from war with overcoming symptoms of PTSD. It can help in developing deeper parts of the brain associated with critical thinking and communication, and all video games have been shown to improve problem-solving skills. Increased premotor cortex development means an increase in the ability to plan and organize movements. This area of the brain is what's called a mirror cortex, which means it becomes active when planning our own moves or watching others do the same movements. This part of the brain is activated when making more advanced and complex movements, and not only does it do the work when we do the action, it mirrors the same action sequence when we observe others doing the action. Games have been shown to increase gray matter, which helps connectivity between brain cells. In an experiment using the game Super Mario Kart, researchers were able to identify a significant increase in gray matter in both the left and right hippocampus, and games such as Tetris have been shown to have a positive impact on the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that helps us to understand consequences and make informed decisions. Used as a tool, games can be a valuable asset to developing and increasing coping skills and cognitive functioning. However, the most important thing that games do is reward the brain by activating dopamine, the chemical associated with feelings of reward and accomplishment. This is the neurotransmitter that is associated with pleasure and addiction, and this is the part that affects us most when it comes to gaming. This is where it gets dangerous. Unfortunately for parents, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain associated with informed decision-making, does not develop fully until around age 24. This means that until in their late teens and early 20s, children simply do not have the development to make cognitively informed decisions. See our video on ADHD to understand more on this. What has been identified as video game brain has shown that over long periods of gaming can cause shrinkage in the frontal lobe. This shrinkage is associated with an increase in emotions of anxiety, anger, and irritation, as well as aggression. And these symptoms continue even after the game is turned off. As a parent, if you have ever told your child to turn off the games and it feels like you're taking crack from a crackhead, you may have a first-hand understanding of this symptom. Games are able to do this by activating the part of the brain associated with trauma, but keeps us at cognitive distance from the action. It rewards us as if we had survived the trauma ourselves. By the time a child is 18 years old, he or she will have witnessed 16,000 simulated murders and more than 200,000 acts of violence in video games and media. Keeping in mind the areas of the brain that mirror what we see, think of the adrenaline that gets pumped into the brain with each mirrored act of violence. Nowhere in history would a child have been exposed to such a violence, unless you lived in Vlad Dracula's kingdom. Now, please don't misinterpret these statistics. Video games do not cause violence. Multiple studies have shown this point to be true. This is a concept that politicians have run with as a justification for censorship and personal agendas, most famously after it was found out the Sandy Hook shooter. 20-year-old Adam Lanza would play video games for hours at a time before he murdered 26 children. However, upon investigation, Lanza spent up to 6 hours daily playing Dance Dance Revolution, and the theory was quickly laid to rest. A recent experiment by Elon Musk put tablets and internet access into the village of the Marubo tribe of South America. This was a tribe of human beings in Brazil that for centuries had minimal contact with the outside world and shunned the new world. Yet in September 2023 were given Starlink technology. By June 2024, elders of the village discussed that teenagers in particular were glued to their phones and watching pornography. However, there is no reported increase of violence. Sloth, gossip, and wanking, yes. Violence, no. Gaming, as a matter of fact, has been shown to decrease the desire to act out in aggression by channeling that aggression to the games. Recent studies have shown violent games decrease cortisol levels, the neurotransmitter known to increase feelings of stress. They've shown testosterone does not increase when playing games, increased testosterone being a direct link to violent behavior. Keeping in mind the surge of dopamine and adrenaline that are being activated, we have feelings of reward for surviving trauma without stress of trauma. And those adrenaline junkies out there, you can attest to the fact that, in moments that get the adrenal system going, have a more vivid place in our mind than non-adrenaline moments. Games specialize in activating this part of the brain, but the cognitive dissonance prevents us from truly internalizing the game as a traumatic event. So the brain gets the high of dopamine and reward for surviving a harrowing event without actually putting yourself in danger. The real problem is that with constant stimulation, the brain tends to build up a tolerance, as seen in other addictions such as cocaine and heroin. Unlike video games, life is boring 90% of the time, and the reward of dopamine isn't handed out during most daily activities. Your brain doesn't offer significant reward for picking up your dry cleaning. When the brain gets used to daily doses of dopamine and adrenaline and then doesn't get that reward, it starts to get upset and feelings of anger and anxiety surface. Now what you have is a situation where your brain is craving excitement and the real world isn't that exciting and we can't cope with it. You see, our brains have developed to reward survival, not living. That's what the real danger to video games is. It takes away our ability to be bored. We get anxious when dealing with non-adrenaline situations, and this causes real-world shutdown and inability to handle regular life functions. We stop socializing and we build our own echo chamber that isolates us from anything that causes real-world anxiety. And yes, children, Facebook has had the same effect on your parents that they were afraid video games would have on you. Social media and electronic society directly influences dopamine activity in the brains of adults as well. This is why social media uses the thumbs up principle, a universally understood sign of approval dating back 2,000 years. Just hitting that like and subscribe button causes a dopamine reward. If you don't believe me, hit the like button on this video. Now, doesn't that give you a little shot of happiness? Nearly 30 years ago, George Carlin said this about society.
They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. You know something? They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back, so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. And by the way, it's the same big club they use to beat you over the head with all day long, when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care.
We have forged this double-edged blade. Video games increase our ability to communicate, but make us afraid of socializing. We've seen 16,000 murders. We are desensitized to violence and yet expect that every other person on the street is a psychotic clown in their free time, just waiting to kill us and bury us under the floorboards. In reality, crime and violence statistics are at a 30-year low, but we all feel afraid. Our aggression decreases while playing the game, but our anxiety increases when not playing or when told to stop. We have honed our ability to problem solve is high, but the amount of problems we face are decreasing exponentially. Gaming and social media have become an integral part of our day, yet has made us unable to handle the boredom of our daily lives. This is the conundrum of the coming century. Gaming and social media have embedded in our society. To our children, we should apologize. We have developed a tool that has evolved on a level much greater than our own. We are now harvested for information, and that information is sold on the open market. In this way, we have become slaves to the very thing we created to help us. We have been caught in our own trap. Schools are banning phones because they can't keep a student's attention when he or she has a phone. We've given them all the information in the world at their fingertips and can't educate them because of it. Well, hope this helps. See you next time at nwotherapy.com.